Yael Bendahan, welcome to Jewish Latin Princess. How are you?
Thank God. How are you doing?
I'm good, except you're probably better because you're all the way in Israel, where I kind of wish I was.
I wish you were too. And you were here and we still didn't see each other. So I don't know how that happened, but
I forgot that. You're right. When I was there for the bar
yeah.
mitzvah, we tried to see each other and we didn't see each other. You're right. You're right. You're right. But even prior to that, and that's why I made it a point to reach out when I went to Israel for the bar mitzvah, our paths did cross many moons ago. We were both
Yes.
doing very different things, although I shouldn't say very different things. I think they were really the early seeds of, or the earlier versions of what we both do today, which it's a testament to all the listeners. Like, there's always iteration, there's always pivoting, there's always, don't get frustrated. But you have, I feel like before we jump in, I just want to say this. You have to be in the doing in order to get to that place. You can't just stay stuck in your head on your desk. But anyway, today you are a digital marketing and visibility strategist or a strategy expert, which is something that I happen to love. I can't say I loved it 5 years ago, but the more I'm in it, the more I love it. And I think when women hear you talk about this, they will be convinced that they should definitely be upping their marketing and visibility game if they really want to serve and watch it go highlight big cap letters. So let's start from the beginning of your journey, because obviously you've had a whole progression. You were in the digital world, in the online space, but you weren't really doing this when we met. So take us through the journey and kind of start connecting the dots for us, because I think that really helps people wherever they are. It helps them see oh, there really was a progression and a journey here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if you know the story, but this journey actually goes way back to when I was 12. Okay. So this is like far back in the past. When I was 12, my family made Aliyah, okay, from New York. And um, I went from being a top student, like straight A's, like school was not even a thing for me to even think about because it was so easy and I just loved it. To basically new culture, language I didn't know, really, really, really not easy. And it was, as anyone who's been out with, older kids knows, even if the kids are up for it, even if they're into it, even if they like the idea of moving, it's still a big transition. And I was not up to it, not into the idea of moving, very unhappy about the whole thing. And I had a very, very, very difficult transition, and a very difficult high school, I guess, journey. Okay. And which culminated in me leaving high school after 11th grade. So I never even got a high school diploma. I went to Gateshead old New Sem in for my last year. So instead of 12th grade, I went to there, and then I did another year of seminary. Then I got married. So I basically got married at the age of 18, no high school diploma, no college, nothing, and just this kind of a yucky feeling about the fact that my parents are a doctor and a lawyer, and I was basically relatively uneducated compared to them. And
do you think
yeah,
it was transmitted, or was just you felt like that?
No. My parents never said there was no oh, we're so disappointed in you, whatever. I just felt I wanted to be a doctor, right? And that was my plan. Even when I was when I was 12, I was I'm gonna be a doctor like my dad. He's an OB/GYN in Jerusalem. He's amazing. And I wanted to be a doctor like that, or something big, right? And I was that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go to college. I'm gonna just kind of continue this trajectory because I was doing so well in school. And then that kind of went off track. And I think that was a very, very big blow. I think that many of us who and this is something that's interesting. It happened at a very young age, but when we kind of have an identity, we have that we identify as a certain type of person, and then the identity takes a very big blow, right? If you have the identity as I'm a good student, and then suddenly you're not a good student because you don't really understand what's going on in school, that is a really, really crushing blow to your self-esteem, especially as a teenager, especially when you're trying to find your place, in the world and figure out who you are and what you're good at and everything. And it kind of really just made me feel really bad about myself. And I just kind of figured, you know what? I like kids. I like babies, and when I got married, I was I guess I'll just do that, right? I'll be a stay-at-home mom. My mother actually left her job as a lawyer to be a stay-at-home mom. So that value is very much ingrained into us, being able to be home with your kids. So I was okay, I'll just it's not even just, I'll be a stay-at-home mom. I'm good with that, right? Like my husband was going to work, I would stay home, it was all going to be perfect. And that's what we did, right? And we lived in England for a few years, and we moved back here to Israel. It was just 9 years ago, like
Is he
literally
British?
9 years ago. He is British, yeah. So
I
his
did not
family's
know that.
there. Yeah. So we actually met because his sister was engaged with me. So it was a good thing I went there in the end. And I kind of credit my high school difficulties to finding my husband, because it wouldn't have ended up in Gateshead had I not had a hard time. But it was definitely a journey, and I didn't feel 100% great about like not finishing high school, but like what I was going to do. Okay, I didn't do college. I'm like, okay, I'll just do the married thing, right? Like I can do that, right? So I had my first 2 kids in London. We moved back here, and then I had 2 more boys, so I had 4 boys. And by the time I had my 4th baby, my husband came to me one day and he was like, listen, we were managing until now with 1 income, but we have 4 kids and they're getting expensive. Okay. They're starting school and there's just stuff. And, kids, as they grow, they just need more and more stuff. And, speaking for myself, like they just eat a ton. Like all they do is eat at this point, and he was like, well, I really think you need to find a job. And I was just horrified because I'd had my 4th baby. He was like, the cutest thing ever. Also, he was super clingy. And I was like, first of all, I didn't even get a high school diploma. Like, what kind of job could I get that's going to like pay me more than it was going to cost to send him out to daycare? Right. And I did the math and I was like, okay, I'll basically be breaking even. Like maybe I'll make 1,000 shekels, above whatever. But like that, for 1,000 shekels, it's not worth going out full time to get a job. Like I'm not leaving my baby so I could just make 1,000 shekels. I was like, that's ridiculous. Okay, that's ridiculous. So I was like, okay, putting that aside, I'm not doing that. And I tried different things over the years. I've done photography. I did cake decorating. I did gift basket making. Like I always like trying things. And that's kind of been my superpower, is learning new things. So I'm always learning new things. And but
I want people to hear this. She kept trying things. She knew she had to nail it somehow. She had to figure out the formula. The formula obviously was not going to be something that didn't make sense financially for her to leave her family to pay somebody to raise her child. And it just doesn't work if she's not even making more money. Then it's just not worth it. But you still kept trying to think things based on your interests, on what you were good at, and see okay, continue.
Yeah. So that's definitely like, I think it's both like a blessing and a curse, because now as a business owner, and we'll get to that later, but like now it's like very hard for me to kind of stay on like, okay, I'm doing this one, I'm doing this one thing. And like focus is definitely like my kryptonite, right? It's like, okay, no, I'm going to stay on this track. I'm going to keep going. But at the time it was working really well for me because I was trying out different things. I realized, cake decorating, not a very big profit margin. Gift basket making, not a very big profit margin, right? Photography, I was too much of a perfectionist and it made me nervous. And I basically had an ulcer from like the second I took photos until I gave them to the people and they were happy. So I was like, okay, I became the family photographer. I'm good at that. And I was like, I need to find something I can do from home. So of course, what does anyone do? They start Googling and Pinteresting, like looking, work from home jobs. And I came across freelance writing and I was like, oh, I can do that. I'm a pretty good writer. I used to write Harry Potter fan fiction in high school. I could probably write stuff. And I actually got a job with a company doing some freelance writing for them at like $10 an hour. It was ridiculous. And I found it super boring. I did not enjoy it at all, but it definitely opened up my mind that like this was a thing that people were looking for. And I was like, maybe I'll find someone who will pay me more to $10 an hour, right? For something that I maybe might enjoy writing about instead of things I don't enjoy writing about. And that's when I discovered blogging. So I was like, ooh, there are all these mom blogs out there. I'm a mom. I could have a blog, right? And I started my blog. But then I very quickly realized that blogging is a very long-term income strategy, right? Like it takes time to grow your traffic, grow your audience, start creating things to sell to them. It really does take a significant amount of time right? Because you have a blog, it takes a lot of time. And so at that point, my friend said to me, she was also a blogger. She was someone I met through the online blogging communities. She was like, well, you have all these blogging skills. Why don't you become a virtual assistant and help other bloggers? And I was like, oh, is that a thing? She's like, yeah, it's totally a thing. Like all these bloggers have assistants who help them with their stuff. And I was like, okay, cool. And I put out a call saying, hey, I'm a new virtual assistant. I have blogging expertise and I'm willing to work at lower rates, for some, for some testimonials, like to get some, to get some experience in testimonials. And that's how I got my first job. $15 an hour. It was about $300 a month. I felt like I was killing it. I was like, that's about 1,000 shekels a month. That's pretty much what I would have been making had I been working full time and
leaving your home.
Out. Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I get to be home with my baby. I work 5 hours a week and I'm making the same amount of money. This is awesome, right? So I remember saying to my mom, like, I bet I can make like $1,000 a month. And she was like, that is awesome. $1,000. I was like, that's amazing. And I was like, I know, and now I'm like,
even before we jump to the money part, which I think is so important, I just want to say again, because the way you said this whole story, the thing that kept coming back at me is there's no excuse. Like, there is literally no excuse when somebody says like, no, but I just can't make the money. No, but I just don't have the degrees, but no. There's no excuse. Like, you're a case in point. You kept figuring it out. You went on Google and you found out, what's this thing? Oh, no. This doesn't make money very quickly, but let me see. There's a thing. Oh, I'm making money. Okay. Now there's something here.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people, and I think this is more applicable now than ever, is that like degrees only matter so much at this point. And what really can bring that cash in are skills, and skills can be learned, right? So there is no shortage of skills that you can learn online at this point that other people need and that you can sell. So it's really a matter of figuring out like what are the lucrative skills that you can sell and kind of moving up the ladder. And that's essentially what I did as a virtual assistant, right? So first I went from just doing the work, right? Just someone telling you what to do and I was just doing it for them. And then I moved into actually doing strategy. And I remember at one point I was actually doing like whole launch strategies and social media strategies for someone else's agency. And I was getting paid like $17 an hour to do that. And after I put this whole gorgeous thing together one day, I was like, I bet someone else would pay me a lot more for this. And, I would not get paid like $50 to $100. I should probably do this myself. So I kind of went off on my own and I was like, I'm going to find my clients. And I did all kinds of things for them. I did Pinterest. I did Facebook, social media management. I did, email marketing. I did almost all the things related to marketing. And I found that I really just enjoyed that. I loved the psychology of marketing. Obviously I didn't market things I didn't believe were good things, because that's definitely a power that can be used for good or evil. But then I kind of started really growing, and that's actually when we came into contact, right? When I actually did. I was
gonna say, it sounds like around the time that we met. Yeah,
exactly. So I was like, oh, this is so much fun. I started to learn about sales funnels, which is basically, how do you get people to, join your audience, how to get people to buy from you, offering them the right offers at the right time, and how to run ads to these offers and things like that. And I just really started loving this process and more loving like the strategy behind it, because like for me, I'm like a big planner. So like the planning is just like, I love it. And because I'd done all these different things as a virtual assistant, instead of going into Facebook ads and that's all I did was Facebook ads, I was able to very much see all the different pieces of the marketing strategy coming together and saying, okay, so you would probably need this, and your audience is probably on here, and you can probably meld organic Pinterest and Facebook ads together, and that will give you something really good, right? Because I was able to kind of have that big picture, like I guess the 3,000-foot view of the businesses, because I had experience in all these areas, and that's where that like learning really came into play, because I feel like that is kind of where a lot of my unique selling proposition is. I'm not just like a one-trick pony. I'm like, okay, I know that there are all different kinds of things you can do, but let me help you find the things that are going to make sense for you as a business owner, and for each business it's going to be unique, right? So I'm not going to say across the board, oh, you need a Facebook group, oh, you need Facebook ads, oh, you need to be on, you need to be blogging, because it's not the case for everybody. And I think that people kind of miss that, because there's all these things going, if you don't have a podcast, you're leaving money on the table. If you don't have a YouTube channel, you're leaving money on the table. And technically that's true, but no one can do everything, right? So I think that like that is another thing that I think a lot of business owners kind of get stuck in, is thinking they have to do all the things. Whereas that's not necessarily true. You need to do the things that are going to work for you as a business, and really just hone in on that and go consistently in on that. And that's where like the real transformation is going to happen. So,
and I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like at this point, you're feeling like you're onto something, but you are still not playing that bigger game that you're playing today. And I think that at this point is where you start really investing in yourself and in coaching. Is that not right?
yes. Yeah, exactly. So I'd say I was making about $2,500 a month at this point, right? So it was good. It was like, for an Israeli salary, that's excellent, right?
Especially, how many, let's just say, how many clients?
I think it was about like, at a time, it could have been like 3 or 4 clients. It wasn't, I was charging like a decent amount, between $500 and $1,000 a month per client, depending on what I was doing. I was doing some Facebook ads for people, I was doing some social media for people, I was doing, some like, it was just really kind of like a bit of everything at that point. And that was when I joined my first mastermind. Now, and I'm gonna talk numbers here just because this is important. The mastermind was $1,000 a month. So I was essentially paying half of what I was making to someone to help coach me to up level. And
walk us through, what was it that you were feeling? Because you could have stayed very comfortable doing a bunch of little things for your clients and making 20, and in a good month, 3,000, and a less good month, maybe 1,800, 2,000.
Yeah.
But there was a pain that you said, I need to invest. What was it? And it's not necessarily the money, I don't think, although that's a big part of it.
Yeah. The money was a part of it, but as well, I just felt like if I'm doing this, if I'm doing this so well, and if I'm like able to, like, I should be able to double this or triple this, because technically, like, I should be able to scale, right? And I think that's where I kind of got lost, because I was like, I don't know how to scale. I don't know how to build a team, or, do I want an agency, or, how do I want to do this? And I couldn't figure out kind of like what the path was to doing that. And so when I came across this mastermind, which is going to help me kind of move my business up to, 10K months or whatever, I was like, okay, that sounds good, right? Because $10,000 is great, right? Like, put some weight, you can, you have save, you have, an income, and now, like, at this point, my goals are much bigger than that. But at the time, it felt like a big goal. Like, wow, if I can like start hitting 10K months consistently, that would be like a dream come true. And I was like, okay.
Not to mention that it's really what your husband needed at this point. He like really needed the financial backup.
We definitely did, because he also at that point was doing air conditioning, which was great in the summer, not so great in the winter, right? So especially in Israel, where like, the winter could be freezing, it could be mild. We knew the summer was going to be hot, but like there was always like a very, very slow point in the winter, whereas like things were like, okay, what do we do? It's a little bit stressful, or a lot stressful, depending on how much work he had in the summer before, right? So there was like that really, really important like piece of, I was starting to max out on my time, but I was not hitting the revenue I wanted to hit. And I was like, I need to figure out how to make my time go further, I guess, in a way, right? Like, I'm like, how do I stretch, kind of maximize the hours that I'm working to be able to double or triple my income? And I felt like, you know what, that is where my skills fell short, right? Because I had the marketing skills, right? But I didn't necessarily have the business building skills. And that was kind of like, as someone whose parents were academics, right? We weren't really business people. I'd never really seen it. I see my father-in-law, because my father-in-law is a great businessman, but like, I'd never really like grown up with like the idea of business. And I was like, okay, I don't know how to grow this thing. I need help. I need someone to help me. And I bought a lot of courses. I remember like the biggest course the biggest single investment I made at that point was like a $2,000 course that I paid off in like 9 payments. And it was like a game changer course for me. It was amazing. It was all about building sales funnels, which was, which is like kind of the customer journey of kind of sending people through your various offers. And I was just in love with the idea. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do this for people. And this mastermind came along. And when I was speaking to them and they were just describing, where I could be in a year from now, I was like, okay, yes, this is what I want. And my husband was like very hesitant about it. I'm not going to lie. He was like, he's a real DIYer, sorry. He's a real DIYer. He's like the type who like, he'll watch a video on YouTube and like build a house, right? Like that's like his thing. Like everything can be found on YouTube. I don't know why you need to pay someone to tell you this stuff, right? But I was like, you know what? YouTube really at this point can only go so far. Like everyone, you know, my business is unique. And this is kind of just like a tool. I was like, you know, you need special tools for your air conditioning business. This is kind of like a tool for my business, right? So, you know, you don't ask me whenever you buy a tool. So like,
Right.
and I'm sitting here speaking to you about this, but for him, it's definitely a mindset shift for me. And it was also for him as well. Like the idea of paying just for knowledge and not paying for like a specific deliverable.
That's what I was going to say. And I was telling just my students last week, I opened up a program and I was saying, you don't need more information. I've given to you all the information. I give it to you for free. I'll show up for you. What you need and what everybody needs is implementation. Like you need, everybody, I think, I really firmly believe this, need the person to hold you accountable, to push you, to call you out on your blind spots and say, no, this is what you said you're going to do. You're not doing it. This is how you do it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that was like a really important part where I was like, I needed that place where I could go. I could ask questions. I could get, you know, I could get answers from people who were much further ahead in their business. Yeah. And that's essentially what that mastermind was for me. So by the time I left the mastermind, I was making on average between $8,000 and $9,000 a month, which was like obviously amazing. It was like more than 4 times what I was making when I joined. I actually hit my first 10K a month after I left that mastermind, which is like interesting. I guess I kind of like had that like, I kind of had that space to really like decide when I wanted. And it's funny because during that year I was growing an agency model. And after I left that mastermind, I decided that I didn't actually want that anymore. I did not want to grow an agency. I did not want to have a big, you know, I didn't want to scale an agency. Like the idea of managing, you know, 30, 40 people, you know, and building it up to like $1 million thing. I was like, no, I was like, I can't, I have enough people in my life to deal with as it is. I'm like, I just want to be able to help people on a higher level and be able to scale that somehow. So I knew I kind of wanted to go more into the strategy and coaching direction rather than the implementation part because I was only one person and I felt because I was so, I guess I stood by my work and it was very, very hard for me to outsource my client work to other people. And that was like where my blind spot was. I just couldn't bring myself to keep doing that because sometimes it would work out and sometimes it really wouldn't. My clients would be like, that's horrible. That's not what I wanted. Right. Like and this doesn't sound like you. And it's true because it wasn't me. Right. Because I'd written like their sales page, then the webinar was written by someone else. And they were like, well, we hate it. And I ended up literally having to rewrite. Actually ended up having to do this like it was my first trimester and I was like so exhausted with this baby that I just had. And ended up rewriting a whole webinar just because they hated the one that my team member had done. And I was like, you know what, like this is just not working out for me. I feel like I need to go in a different direction. And after this mastermind I left, I joined a different one, which has been just incredible for me. I think that like, besides the actual coaching that I get in that group, like from my actual coach, who she's incredible. I think as well, just being around people who are quite a few steps ahead of me at like the multi-6 to multi-7 figure business level, that really, really, really gives me that push and that really drives me to keep going and to, you know, I want to be the small fish in a big pond, right? Like if you're the big fish in a small pond, it's time to jump into a different pond. Right. I really, really, truly believe that because you can always improve and you can always grow and you can't grow if you don't have space. And that's kind of how I saw my move was like, you know, at the point when I left the previous mastermind, I was at that point one of the more senior members in there, the person who was like further ahead. And I was like, okay, I don't want to be in this position in this group of people. I want to be down here with everyone else up here so I can kind of aspire to more. And I think that is another thing that really, when it comes to investing in your business, it's not just the coaching that's important. It's also realizing, you know, what communities are you buying into, right? Is it the right kind of communities, the kind of community where people like lift each other up? Is the kind of community where everyone's trying to grow and be better? Or is the kind of where people are just like kind of sitting around, like not really doing anything and not really getting anything done and just kind of complaining about what's not happening in their life, right? So that was super valuable for me as well.
That is huge because it's also recognizing that your old ceiling now became your new floor. Like I love that. Yes. Yeah. It's such a, we all have it. We all go through that process. in our, well, at least everybody who, I think it doesn't even have to be business, by the way, even in our personal lives.
Yeah, for sure.
In our lives. Yeah.
For sure. Right. I mean, everything that you think, I mean, I guess it's almost like having kids, right? So like, you know, when you have one kid and you're like, gosh, how do these people with two kids do it? Right. And then you have two
How do
kids.
I
You're
manage?
like, how do, you know, people three kids, no, that's insane, right? Then you have three kids and you realize that, okay, yeah, this is insane, but like you're managing, you know, and then onwards and onwards. And then, I mean, funny story, right after I had my fourth baby, my husband and I, when he was 6 weeks old, my husband and I flew to England for two of our cousins' weddings. His cousin and my cousin were getting married in the same week, so we flew in there, and we only took our two youngest kids, right, the baby and my 2-year-old. And we were on the plane, and we looked at each other and we go, we used to travel with 2 kids, and we felt that was really hard. Why does it seem so easy? This is so easy, right? Because it's what you're used to, right? And like once you grow as that person, like anything less than that just seems like a no-brainer. It's like, okay, like that was, you know, why did I think that was hard? Right. So now I can look back and be like, wow, I can't believe I thought $1,000 was a lot. Right. Because at the beginning, when I was like, oh my gosh, like I could make that much money, like that would be amazing. I didn't even realize, you know, what was possible for me. And I think that another thing, which I think is really appropriate for your podcast, is I think a lot of women in general, okay, and I think a lot of Jewish women, like religious Jewish women especially, I think, because we're very much told materialism is not a good thing, and you know, don't be greedy, and you know, if you want, you know, it says, you know, if you have 100, you want 200, and all that kind of stuff. So it's hard for people to be like, I want to make a lot of money, because like that all of a sudden makes you sound like you're whatever name you want to tack onto it. You're materialistic. You're, you know, gosh, man, it's like, oh, you know, you're high maintenance, like all this kind of stuff. And I think that like that is just such a damaging kind of mindset to have, because if you think about it, there is money everywhere, right? So there could be bad people who have money and use it for bad things, and there are good people who have money who use it for good things. So why not be one of the good people with money so you can use it for things like, I don't know, like buying your kid a new bike, having guests for Shabbos, getting a cleaning lady so you can have more guests for Shabbos, right? Like, I don't know, like giving more tzedakah. Like there's so many things like that, like so many goals that I have in my life that like I felt like, you know, what I wanted more than anything in my life was to be the giver instead of a receiver, right? And the more, as you grow, as my business has grown, I'm able to be moving more and more into that role, and it's such a big difference for me, right? Mm-hmm. Because like everyone wants to be able to contribute in some way, and that is what makes us feel good, you know, when we feel that purpose. So I have two-pronged, you know, purpose, right? Because of the purpose of my business, which currently right now I'm as a marketing and business coach, you know, helping women build their businesses. I call it build a baby-proof business, and I'll kind of get to that baby part in a minute. But so I'm helping these women build their businesses and scale and grow their business to 6 figures and beyond. And I'm also, you know, then I can then take the money I'm making from doing that and then use it on my side to positively impact my life and people around me and my kids and whatever. And that just feels really, really good. And that's okay.
Because it is good. Because it is good.
It is good.
Because
and it's okay to say that.
Yeah. Because all this garbage that we've been, I don't know where we came up with this, by the way, because I firmly believe, and I tell all my students, this is not Judaism, people. This is not Judaism. Judaism is not anti-money. There's no shame in money. It's just a neutral tool that God gave us. Use it just like you use your water and your air and everything else that God gave you, hopefully for good. So be open to getting a lot of it, because if you do and you're a good person, that means you're going to get to do a lot of God's work in this world.
Yeah,
boom, no shame.
Exactly. It's just an energy exchange, right? Like it's really just, you know, if you're giving someone value, they're giving you back value, you know, they're giving you value as well in the form of money, right? It could be, I mean, in the olden days they bartered and now we use money. Like that's just how it is. And if there's no even energy exchange, then something's off, right? And people, and it's funny, what I've noticed is that a lot of times when people get things for free, they don't value them as much, right? Like when I've given things to, you know, people who download freebies very often never even look at them, or, you know, people who get scholarships to things won't utilize the tools that they're given. And it's just really, really interesting because, and you talk about this a lot because you always talk about money and money mindset and stuff like that. And I think that was definitely something you have to work through, you know, where you're like, you know, you have all these beliefs growing up about money, you know, from whatever you've seen growing up, from the experience that you've had. And, you know, I definitely had to work through a lot of my beliefs around money and having a lot of money and wanting to have a lot of money and what having money means, right? Does it mean that, you're this kind of person, you're that kind of person, you're going to use it to, you're going to use it to, I don't know, try to control things because I'm a bit of a control freak. So I was like, am I going to become that kind of person? And it's definitely been a lot of work like inside me as well. And a lot of times, like you sabotage the amount of money you can make with all these thoughts and with all these feelings and with all these beliefs.
I'm so glad you said that, because a lot of people say, no, but really, I don't really need to work on my mindset. I don't really even need to work on my financial systems. I just really need to build a business that makes a lot of money. And I'm like, yeah, but let me just tell you something. You're going to trip yourself over hundreds, thousands of times because you're not working on your money, both here and in your systems. You're sabotaging it, and then you're not building anything. You're just in a hamster wheel. You think you're building a business, but you're not. You can't.
Because there's making money and there's like managing money, which are two different skills, right? Like you can know how to, I can make money all day long for myself and my clients. Like that's not the problem, right? But when it comes to like management, that is a skill that is not it's not just like naturally comes to you. And I think that's definitely an area that's I feel it's an area that's severely lacking in our educational system. Like I really think people need to learn about that, like before they get married. Especially, I got married when I was 18, my husband was 19. Like we knew nothing, we're still figuring things out. I know we're little. So essentially, what?
So here you are, you're on your second mastermind. At this point, you've really fine-tuned your offer and the client that you're talking to, right?
Yeah, very much so. So what I basically have started doing is working with women on building businesses that fit into their lives. And the reason this was really important to me and like kind of really imperative, and the reason like I started really going in this direction in the first place was because really exactly a year ago, I found out that I was pregnant with my fifth baby. Now I had not had a baby since I started my business, right? So I started my business with my youngest. He was about almost 1 at the time. So he was, sleeping through the night, and he was like pretty on schedule. And little kids are little kids, but like I knew how to do a business and kids. I did not know how to do a business and a baby. And I was like totally freaking out. I had a really, really hard first trimester. And I was like, is this going to be the end of my business? Like, because this business has so much of me in it. And what I'm doing right now is not scalable, right? Because I'm doing strategy. I'm doing a lot of the writing. I'm doing a lot of the management of people, and it's just too much. And I don't think I can do this and also have a baby. And I was right. Like if I was doing what I was doing at the time, right now, my business would not have survived, because I literally have maybe 2-3 hours a day to work if I'm lucky, right? Like really, if I'm lucky. And
I'm surprised that at this point you were still a one-woman show. I had
team members. But even the management of those people was taking time. Right. And I was deliberately, I did not want to grow it bigger. I was not looking to hire more and more people, because I already knew at that point, I did not want to start doing more and more client work, like big agency level stuff, because I just didn't have the mental bandwidth to build a business like that. I knew I wanted to go in the coaching and courses direction, because I was just like, I feel like this is how I can serve more people better. And it's true. Honestly, right? Because when I started putting out, content, and I was helping more people, I was selling different programs. And when I launched my VIP Cash Accelerator, which is the first iteration of my group program, I launched that in April, and I ran it all the way through until my baby was born. And it was just amazing, because I saw how like the things that I had learned over 4 years of building my business were helping these women so much, as far as showing up consistently for their business, as far as kind of figuring out offers that they could sell easily, and figuring out offers that would work with their business, figuring out, how to set their income goals every month and hit them. And I was like, okay, like this is it. This is what I want to do with my life. And I just love it. I just love the breakthroughs that they're able to have. And I love just seeing like the growth that has happened. I've had people come in and they were like, in like the $2,000 to $3,000 to $4,000 range. And like now, like one of them was like, she was basically $150 away from a 10K month this past month. Nice. And it's just like, it makes me so happy, because these are awesome women, and they are so they have such valuable skills, and it's really a matter of helping them like figure out how to package their skills and position their skills in ways that they can, number one, deliver easily, and that they can market easily, and that they can manage easily. And when you put that all together, then it's very easy to scale those things up, right? And I think that's essentially my framework for what I call a baby-proof business, because now I'm like heading for like a close to six-figure quarter, please God. Like that's my plan, right? With all the management I've been doing, with the launching and everything I've been doing, that is the plan. And I really feel that that's possible for me. And that would have been unimaginable a few years ago. And I want to help more people achieve that as well. So that is kind of like where my heart really is. I feel just so lucky, right? To be able to have hit on this thing that I'm able to do. I'm able to do it in a few hours a day. I'm able to, and the truth is, even if I was doing like copywriting or whatever, I still could probably build a business around that if I wanted to in a few hours a day. I just chose to kind of move out of that, but I could see very clearly like how people can build that framework, that they are working the hours that they have available, but they're also have the time to market, have the time to work on their business instead of in their business, and also just have the time to be, to live their life. Because especially now with COVID, it's been insane. I mean, like you said, you're taking your kids out of school, right? Kids have been, in and out and in and out and in and out, and Zoom classes, and no Zoom classes, and who knows what's happening. And our school's going to be open next week. We have no idea. Like, I don't count on anything anymore. So having that flexibility has been so, so valuable for me. And I just want to help more women have that too. So that's kind of like my mission.
So wait, let me just help me understand what it looks like for you right now. Now that you've scaled to this point and you're really focusing on women kind of baby proofing their businesses, like really making motherhood and your online business work. Is it composed of group coaching and one-on-one coaching? What is it mostly composed of? Is it a combination of both?
Yeah.
For you.
So for me, it's mostly group. I've had one-to-one clients. I sometimes offer some like one-to-one offers as far as like, I'll do Voxer coaching, right, where people are WhatsApp coaching, where people can just ask me questions. But for the most part, it is group, because that is the most scalable kind of thing I can offer. And I also really feel that the group dynamic, like going back to that community thing, right, I really feel that having one-to-one coaching is so valuable for sure, like 100%. And I've worked with both mastermind coaches and one-to-one coaches. Like I've done it all. Okay. But I really, really feel that having that group dynamic and having that like encouragement and that community really, really, really helps push you further, and like it gives you like that feeling that you have a cheering squad behind you, kind of going, yes, you can do it, and that's awesome, and like you had that win, and that was what I saw like work so well, and I feel like it almost be like it's almost a disservice to limit myself to one-to-one, but I still take like maybe a couple of one-to-one clients, maybe, I'll only take like one or two at a time.
It's funny you say that, because I feel exactly the same way. I don't know that I would do it any differently. I love the group dynamic, and I just see the power in it. And I do take also 1 to 2 clients, like maybe every 6 months I'll open like 2 slots, but really I just love, I love the results. I love how people light up. I love how people help each other and hold the community building and everything else. So yeah, I think there's a lot of value there. Now I want to go into the visibility piece, because I think this is a huge part of what you teach your students. And I saw you literally, I know you walk the talk, because over these years, I saw you get uncomfortable and do the thing and showing up, even if it didn't feel at the beginning, it never feels natural. And correct me if I'm wrong. And the reason I'm bringing it up is because I know for myself, and I know for so many of my students, whenever we start talking about making more money, the visibility part is where everybody gets stuck. But what do you mean I have to tell them about this? Yeah. You need to show up and tell them about your beautiful thing and about your beautiful service. And it's not once a month, and it's not even once a week. You need to be every day telling people. Like I'm in business sign has like business is open. It's open. You don't go to Nordstrom. And then it's closed.
That's exactly what I say. I'm like, Target's never like, oh, well, we had a sale last week, so I don't want to look too salesy. We'll just close this week just so, so we don't make people feel like we're trying to sell them, right? Like, that's just stupid. Like, no business works like that. And your business always have to be open for business. Exactly.
Right.
And one thing when my coach Julie said to me, which I thought was really funny, she's like, if I'm not sick of your face in my feed, you're not showing up enough. And I was like, I love that because it's true. Okay. Algorithmically, not everyone who follows you is going to be seeing your posts. Okay. Whether you have a blog, you're sending emails, whether you're, putting out a social media post, you have a Facebook group, YouTube, it doesn't matter. People are not going to see everything you put out. So you have to be consistently showing up on a daily basis and selling your stuff. Now, I think that a lot of people also miss, like, people are like, oh, I don't want to be too salesy. I don't want to be like that annoying person. And I'm like, you know what? If people see you as that annoying person, then they're not your people, right? Because the people who I like to buy from, I'm excited when they see new stuff that they have to offer because I like knowing that they have something, that can help me, right? Like,
it's like, where have you been? Like, I was waiting for somebody like you to show up in my life. Like, why have you been hiding?
Exactly. And I think that people who get, I think that if you feel that way about other people, if you're like, oh my gosh, why are you being so salesy? Like, this just feels like really gross. And I'm not talking about people who are actually sales leaders, because I've definitely had those conversations where I was like, I could have like, I got on a call and I could have like basically like said their questions along with them because they know like the script, right? That everyone's using to like sell people into, I'm not talking about things like that. Okay. I'm talking about you have something, you truly believe that it's valuable, and you don't need to beg people to buy it. You just need to keep showing up, keep showing the value, and that's it, right? I think one thing that comes up a lot is people who friend you and then they immediately send you like a pitch message, right? It's like, this happens all the time, right? Like, that is your friend. It's like, hey, it's great to connect. So what have you been doing in your business lately? Hey, I have a Facebook group that, if you want to join. And I'm like, unfriend. Like, that's it. Because if I will add someone as a friend, I will add them as a friend. I don't message them necessarily unless it's someone who like I knew, I'm like, oh, hey, I noticed we have this in common, or I'm interested in actually getting to know them better because for whatever reason. And I'll actually start a conversation. I will not pitch them, and I will just let my content speak for itself, because I am very, very, very active in my personal profile as well. And I believe that if they are meant to be a client and meant to be a collaborator or whatever, one day they will see my content, and that's that. Like, it's okay. Like, you don't need to be spammily cold pitching people in order to sell, right?
What you need to do, connect. Just connect with other humans. Be a human. Just connect with a human being.
Exactly. And I think that's when people are like, oh my gosh, how do you know what to post here? How do you know what to post there? And I'm just like, on my personal profile, I will post about what I'm selling. I'll post pictures of my folded laundry. I will post funny memes about 2020, right? It's just a way for people to get to know me. And also, by the way, see what I happen to be selling at any given time, because maybe it will help them, right? In my Facebook group, I pretty much do the same thing. I create conversations, I give value. I let people know what I'm selling. That's it, right? Like, it's really not that complicated. It's just what's complicated. I think not complicated. What's hard for people is doing that consistently, because consistency is probably one of the hardest things to incorporate into your life, right? There are so many distractions.
Yeah.
I mean, everywhere, right? Like,
it also takes time. It also takes a huge time commitment to be visible. Like, to be
not necessarily.
Tell us, because to be really transparent, for me, it does. Like, I do show up, but I feel like maybe I'm dropping the ball on this group of people and the English audience and the Spanish audience, and I'll drop the ball on the podcast because like my team is not yet, I guess, nimble enough to manage certain things. So I get it, but I also get how important it is, and I get how we need to show up. But do talk to that, because I don't think what I said is unique to me. I think we all go through this struggle.
Right. And I think that's what a lot of people think. It's like, oh shoot, I don't have time to market my business. Right. And that's where a lot of people kind of, I guess, kind of, that's basically a very big pain point for a lot of business owners, which is like the feast and famine, right? Like, 1 month you have tons of clients and it's great, and then the next month you don't have any clients, right? Why does that happen? Because the month that you have a lot of clients, you're like, yeah, I have a lot of clients. You're not thinking about marketing yourself because you have a lot of clients, and it's not money is not a pain point for you. But then all of a sudden, whatever, you finish the projects and then, or your client decides to leave or when their contract ends or whatever. And all of a sudden you're left there with like 1 or 2 clients left. And you're like, oh shoot, right? Last month was a 10K month. And now I'm having a 2K month. Like, how'd this happen? And this happened because you're not consistently marketing, right?
Mhm.
So I really, honestly, like the marketing I do, okay, setting aside, okay, this is just my daily marketing routine. This does not include writing sales pages, or creating webinars or things like that. Like that is like marketing asset creation. That's completely different. But as far as my daily marketing goes, I spend about 30 minutes a day.
Composed of what? Walk us through those. Because I can tell you what mine are, but yeah, what are yours?
Yeah. So I will generally post about 4 to 5 longer form posts a week in my group. And this is what I do. I focus on my group. The reason I focus on my group is because I can see the people in the group, right? So I feel like that is very much the people I want to serve, which is powerhouse women entrepreneurs, which is what the group is called, right? These are my people. These are people who are coming in. This is how they identify. And I can click on their profiles and see who the heck they are, which you can't necessarily do on your email list, right? So whenever I'm thinking about who I'm speaking to, I'm thinking about those people in the group. I'm thinking about the people who I see, commenting on things and commenting on my Facebook Lives. And it makes it very, very easy for me to be like, well, what do I want to tell this person? Right. And then,
by the way, everybody should know that it is an excellent group. Say again the name. Powerhouse
Women Entrepreneurs, and I can give you the link.
And it's a shame. It's so silly that I don't know the name. Like, it doesn't roll out of my mouth, my tongue, because what I wanted to say is that it is one of the only 2 groups that I ever consistently go and see what's happening, and I even sometimes participate. I'll disappear for a few months, but and so I'm just saying it happens to be the one of 2 groups that I'm there for, that I enjoy, because there is valuable content and valuable conversation all the time. And perhaps it's relevant to me, but I just think it's relevant to anybody who wants to have their own.
Right. Well, if you listen, I use a group, but I think if you choose one place and you go all in on that, that could be your YouTube channel, and you can market that elsewhere too. It's really just a kind of figuring out where you want to be putting your focus. I'm not saying you can't do a lot of places, but I would add them on kind of one at a time, right? Like now I'm working on starting my YouTube channel, right? This is after years of doing Facebook Lives and getting comfortable on video, right? And if I look back at my first Facebook Live that I did, I don't even want to, but I actually keep them on my Facebook page just so people can go back and look at them if they want to and be like, wow, Yael wasn't always so confident on video. She wasn't always so comfortable just getting on there and talking, right? And I want people to see that, because I want them to realize that, I could start putting my face out there, even though I felt so stupid. I'm like, who wants to hear from me? I'm just the little girl in Israel, doing some marketing stuff. You can too, because I love video because I think it's just so impactful. I think it helps people really, really get to know you and get a feel for you and your personality, more than almost anything else in the world. Definitely, podcasts also works, right? Because they hear your voice, and people often listen to podcasts on the go, which is not necessarily the same for video, but I really like kind of just getting up close and personal with people. So I will do about 1 Facebook Live a week in my group. Okay. So that could be between half an hour or 45 minutes on any given topic. Sometimes I'll even do 2. So I've actually been trying to do more more mindset based one, and one more just teaching and strategy. And then I write about 4 to 5 long form posts a week, which is whatever, about 4 or 5 paragraphs long, about whatever it is. Often it could be what I'm talking about that week. It could just be about something I saw that I'm thinking about, that someone said to me the other day and made me think about this. And there's usually a call to action at the end. Generally there's a call to action, whatever that is, whether it's join my program, or comment below if you're interested, or send me a DM. I think it's really, really important to make sure that when you're writing a really good post, give people something to do at the end of it, right? Because it's a shame to waste that good post. If someone's reading it, give them an action to take, right? They're already there. They're already reading it. They're already, engrossed in you and your knowledge. Just tell them what the next step is. And I think that that's something that a lot of people lose, because they don't want to be too sales. I have to give value, but you forget that you could be giving them more value if they paid you, and you could work with them on a higher level. So
we forget that, and I'm so happy you mentioned it, because I've started to realize it's almost like You know, when sometimes you've walked into, I don't know, you've seen a speaker speak and they were like amazing and totally inspired and you're like, I want more of that, but you didn't even tell me how. Like, I want more of you. Whatever you just gave me, that experience, I want more of my life. So if we do that for people, then like, why are we doing that? Why we're not really showing up for them?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that that's what people like. I mean, selling is service, right? Like when you're selling to someone, you are, if you feel you have something that's really going to contribute to their life, then you're serving them. End of story, right? So like, it is so important to realize that. And if you truly do believe that what you're doing is going to create a positive impact in someone else's life, you not giving them that chance to work with you is just doing them a disservice. And it's just such a shame, right? So
Yeah.
I think that like, and the thing is, people can feel the energy behind what you're posting. So if you still feel uncomfortable about selling, even if you're doing all the right things and posting all the right things, that is going to come through and no one's going to buy your stuff. So it's not, that's why the mindset is so important, right? Because the energy, like the thoughts behind what you're posting, if you're just posting because, oh, I saw something, Yael doing that and it looks like it's working for her, right? But you don't have that like bone deep belief that people need this in their lives, then that feeling is not going to come through in your post and people are not going to feel that urgency to buy from you. And I think that's like,
100%.
it's just such an important part to keep in mind.
It's huge. It's huge. And it's really the perfect segue to, so we just talked about the visibility piece and how important it is. And whichever way, like Yael just mentioned, she does it very strongly inside her Facebook group. Whatever way is that you're going to show up consistently and connect with humans. Like you're literally establishing a connection and a relationship. That is one piece. And we got to get over the fear and all that and just do it, because otherwise, what then we're not serving them and they're like waiting for you to show up for them and you're not showing up for them, right? They're ready to open your wallet. So you have to have an offer. So let's go through the offer, because I think that's also a huge one where people say, oh, so then I'll just offer them a $997 program. And I'm like, maybe we need to validate things first. I think people get a little like the whole money piece and the validating an offer people get very confused about. So walk us through that validation or how you do it with your clients.
So yeah, so essentially what I kind of teach is kind of like, if you have a framework, right? Like I have a framework of like, these are the steps you take to grow your baby fruit business, right? So it's like, whatever. Step 1, step 2, step 3, you have to have the offers in place. You have to have your marketing in place. You have to have your, delivery and, and your management in place. And I have all these different pieces, and the mindset always comes first, always comes at the beginning. But what I basically do is, number one, when I'm doing offers, all I need to do is look at my framework and I can just pull parts out of my framework to sell as like standalone sort of things. So like, where my group program will cover like the whole framework or most of it, let's say, like my current group program is covering more like the organic side of it. And then the next level will be more like the automation and funnels and like really kind of like automating your lead gen and sales. All I need to do is be like, okay, I want to do something about mindset. And I that's what I did. I did this mindset makeover and I just pulled out a piece. And I was like, I'm going to do this 30-day mindset bootcamp thing. And I did it. And people had huge breakthroughs. It was amazing. And I'm like, okay, great. I sold it at $47 the first time I ran it. I'm never selling it at $47 ever again. It's currently, right now I'm selling it. I don't know if it's going to be when we're doing this podcast. Right now I'm selling it for $147. Really, at this point, it's $197. It's totally worth it because the breakthroughs people had through it were incredible. And it's worth every penny and more.
Right. But you just said it yourself. You validated it already. And that's where I say to people, talk to those humans. Tell them what you're here to offer. Put a price tag on it and validate it. Oh, and did you like it like this? And do you like it like that? Oh, what's your pain point? What are you struggling with? Oh, I could speak to that. Like validate the thing and keep doing it. And it won't be the thing forever. It'll change.
It will grow. Exactly. It will iterate. And that's what I like to do is, if I have an idea, I'll put it out as like, okay, I'm going to do like a masterclass about this and it'll be whatever it is, $37, $97, whatever. And then see how many people buy it. And if people buy it, then I know that people are interested in this topic and I can make it into a bigger thing. If nobody buys it, then I'm, or nobody shows interest, I'm like, okay, it's not a thing, right? Like it's not something people want. And it's very easy to see. But I would say, don't ever like take people saying, oh yeah, I want that as validation. The validation is when they actually give you their money and then you made a sale. If one person has bought it, it's validated, right? Like people have said, oh, that sounds awesome. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I want. Like, that's amazing, right? Those are cheerleaders. They're not validators. So just keep that in mind, right? Like, do not count, Facebook likes and comments as, yes, people are actually going to buy this. People will buy, you will know people will buy it when they actually buy it. And that's all. Like, that's just that's like such an important thing to remember.
Yeah, it always goes back to opening their wallets. They have to buy the thing and commit to whatever the process or whatever it is that you're giving them. So we're really running short on time because I could just geek about this stuff forever with you. But I know you have a family to take. Well, your family's sleeping, so you have to sleep. So I want to ask you one last question, and then we're going to do quickly JLP fill in the blanks. We didn't really talk about this a lot, other than the fact that we all need to work on this money mindset stuff, and sometimes we think it comes from our faith, but it's just totally mishkabobbled. But I know that you are a woman of faith, and you don't necessarily, that doesn't necessarily come through, some of us, like, our faith is interrelated into our work. That's not necessarily your selling point. Like, you don't come and say, I'm here for Jewish women. That's not your thing. However, why I'm asking the question is because I do know that it is such a big part of your life, and I have a feeling that it has helped you play that bigger game. Let's just call it.
For sure. No, it's actually a very big part of what I do. And I will actually, if you watch my Facebook Live, I will quote like Talmud like all the time. When I'm on coaching calls, I will quote it all the time. I'll be like, oh, there's a story like this. And, and the truth is, currently, none of the people in my group program are Jewish. And they all love it.
Love it.
They're all like, yeah, So I think that definitely, I'm very, very open about it. I'll be like, here's the holidays. And, actually this holiday ties into this, this is really, really interesting. Here's the concept of this. And I will definitely use it as like my content. I'm not like, oh, you have to be Jewish or you have to be a woman, a person of faith to work with me. But I definitely feel that like,